Well, the ceasefire between Israel and Iran might have stopped the firefight, but core concerns of the war are not over yet. That raises the question, will ceasefire between Israel and Iran last or hold? Iran's chief of staff of the armed forces, Abdolrahim Mousavi, says he's not convinced that Israel would abide by the ceasefire. He also said that Iran will respond to any Israeli attack with full force. Iran has also demanded United Nations to recognize US and Israel as aggressors. Despite concerns over longevity, ceasefire between Iran and Israel is holding up for now. But how did it come about, and how did Israel and Iran retreat from their highly offensive positions? A new report has emerged that sheds light on why the United States may have asked Iran for a truce. Now, according to the reports, 70% of the missiles used by Iran were older generation missiles, while its deadlier next generation missiles saw minimal use. The report states that Iran mostly used Ghadir and Emad missiles against Israel. Ghadir comes in 3 variants and has a range between 1,350 and 1,950 kilometers and carries a payload of 650 kilograms. On the other hand, the Emad ballistic missile is an upgraded variant of the Ghadir and comes with enhanced guidance and accuracy. Commissioned in late 2015, the Emad missiles have a range of 1,700 kilometers and carry a payload of 750 kilograms. But even these older missiles demonstrated remarkable accuracy and penetrated Israeli air defenses, causing widespread damage and destruction across Israel. From the capital Tel Aviv to Haifa, Ramat Gan, and Beersheba. Even as US President Donald Trump acknowledged the scale of destruction, speaking at the NATO summit earlier this week, Trump said that Iran and Israel fought like hell, and it was not easy to stop them.
They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like 2 kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
Well, this brings us to an interesting question. Why did Iran hold back its newer, more powerful and lethal missiles? Iranian missile arsenal consists of ballistic missiles like the Sejil-2, the Fateh-1, and the Khyber-Shekan, which have a range of up to 2,000 kilometers and carry payloads of up to 700 kilograms. Reports suggest that Iran may actually be preparing for a long, protracted war with Israel and intends to gradually introduce its diverse missile arsenal. While it remains unclear whether the scale and scope of damage unleashed by Iranian missiles pushed the United States to seek a ceasefire, what is undisputed is that Iran managed to evade Israeli air defenses, even with older first-generation missiles, and it may have far more lethal and newer age missiles in its arsenal. Mr. Peter Kuznick is a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University, is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Kuznick, good to see you and welcome to the program. There is concern that the ceasefire between Iran and Israel may not hold for long, with Israel being accused of being the first to breach it. What do you think is stoking that fear and anxiety?
The ceasefire is very, very fragile. We don't know any terms that would resolve the conflict over Iran's right to enrich uranium. That seems to be the major stumbling block in the negotiations that were taking place. Iran showed willingness to give up its nuclear arsenal in the same way that it did in 2015 under the JCPOA. They were willing to return to those terms. It was Trump and Israel who raised the terms and said that they can enrich uranium to 3.67% any longer, so no enrichment. We don't know what's going to happen with that issue once negotiations begin again, and there are no planned negotiations. So it's very fragile. It's very likely that this is going to fall apart. The Israelis are already making threats. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has said they're going to treat Iran like they do Lebanon, but 100 times worse. So it's very likely to see another round of fighting. in which some of those more modern missiles will be used.
Mr. Kuznik, talking about this imminent war between Iran and Israel once again, there is speculation that Iran may actually be preparing for a long and protracted war with Israel and intends to gradually introduce their new and diverse missile arsenal. Do you actually think that is the case, or do you see that happening?
There seemed to be good evidence that Israel was running out of its interceptor missiles. Under the best of circumstances for Israel, against Iran's first generation older missiles, Israel was able to shoot down about 90% of them with their multi-layered air defense system. But if they were really going to be running out of those, and the U.S. did not have that many more to supply, then Israel would be vulnerable. And a protracted war, a long war in that region would be devastating for everybody. Mm-hmm. Israel had air supremacy over Iran. Israel was able to bomb Iran with impunity. So what we're seeing, the estimates that I've seen about how much this was costing Israel ranged from $3 billion to $12 billion, which, given Israel's limited budget, is an enormous amount of money. Mm-hmm. And Israel did suffer serious damage by the Iranian missiles. So it made sense for everybody, and for Trump also, to get the ceasefire. Trump's base was not in support of any kind of prolonged war there. They weren't even in support of the bombings that the U.S. did carry out. This went against what Trump had run on as a candidate in 2024. So Trump needed to get out quickly. The Israelis needed to end it quickly, and the Iranians needed to end it quickly. So we need a resolution and a diplomatic solution here. But as long as the U.S. and Israel demand a complete capitulation, a complete surrender by Iran, then it's not going to happen. Ayatollah Khamenei, Iran's leader, said that this was Iran's victory, and Trump freaked out. Trump got apoplectic in response to Khamenei's statements that Iran actually was the victor in this round. And so Trump is now threatening him again. So we have our unstable leaders or dangerous leaders, which is why I've called for regime change, not just in Iran, but in Israel and the United States also. Because you've got three lunatics, really, running those countries, very, very irresponsible leaders there. And the situation is very likely to get out of control and lead to a much wider kind of world war.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Peter Kuznik, it's good to see you. We'll have to leave it there now. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.